go back to Tobago because we are keeping the conversation on Tobago as we're focusing on Tobago Thursday. And so I want to welcome to the show Miss Abigail Daniel. She is the manager of Pigeon Point Heritage Park, because we are going to be having a conversation about those floating beach wheelchairs. Abigail, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on Now.
Hi. Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Of course, Abigail, lovely to have you this morning. First of all, before we get into the floating beach wheelchair, where did the idea come from?
Management would have observed the challenges faced by wheelchair-bound users of the park and would have consulted with the lifeguards and looked at the market to see what, and also to the international standards for guidelines to see what could be made available for the users of the park to improve their everyday accessibility.
Nice. And so we have these floating beach wheelchairs. Tell us how it works exactly.
All right, it's a very simple design. It's very lightweight and moves easily across from the sand into the water. The person is strapped into the wheelchair, comfortably strapped, I must say. It's not like restrictive strap, more or less, but they must be aided by someone. So we have the procedures in place where once the wheelchair is launched, we do it in conjunction with the lifeguards, and they're aware, as well as whomever is accompanying the person along with the wheelchair. But it's a very simple setup, very seamless to get into, get out of from your wheelchair into, or any sort of device that aids you in terms of your mobility into the wheelchair to enjoy a full beach experience, sand and sea.
Yes, and as I understand it, it is for people with disabilities and also with mobility issues?
Anyone with mobility challenges, that could include anything from disabilities to weight restrictions to amputees, anyone in that realm.
Yeah. And is there a cost attached to this as well?
Yes, there's a rental cost for the service. It's $100 for a half-hour interval.
Nice. And you said that it goes to Pigeon Point Beach. Will it take you all along the beach, or is there any sort of other arrangement, maybe to go out on the jetty, or how can we see it even expanding?
Well, anywhere within the compound is within our remit currently.
Right.
And the thing is, because of the design of the wheelchair, the wheels, and the safety features, it can move across from the parking area, over the asphalt, into the grassy areas, the sandy areas, and into the water. So in terms of access to the entire compound, the wheelchair gives that, where previously persons with disability issues, with mobility challenges would have been limited to, say, particular areas of the compound.
Yeah. Can you share how many are available? Can we see 2 to 3 people using the floating wheelchair at this time?
Unfortunately, no. We would have only procured this unit because we would have wanted to get the user feedback, because there are many other models and many other aids on the market. So we would have wanted to get the user feedback within this short interim period here before we launch into not only additional units, but also the additional features that we're adding to the compound to increase accessibility for persons with mobility challenges, including but not limited to dedicated parking space, easier access to the washrooms, grab bars within the washroom. Some of these things have already been implemented, but I just want to have an appreciation that it's a comprehensive improvement to the compound to aid in the accessibility of persons who have mobility challenges.
Of course. And I know you mentioned that it's going to be used with the assistance of a lifeguard, but it's also safe to be used by a relative of the person who's using the wheelchair. It has to be operated at this time by a lifeguard.
No. So it's just extra precautions. What we say, we make the lifeguard aware that the item is being rented and it will be in the water. So they just have that extra degree of vigilance. Yes. But the wheelchair can be used by the person who is in it, and they can be assisted by one person. But just to be extra precautious, our procedures include alerting the lifeguards that the unit will be in the water.
Yeah. Have you gotten any feedback thus far in terms of how it works?
The feedback so far, as I would have mentioned, is that it's easy to get into, easy to get out of. It moves easily. Some persons have suggested additions that we should add to it in terms of shade and that sort of stuff. So this is the period to get that sort of information, what sort of attachments, what other features we need to have, what improvements we might need to have to this particular model. That's the information we're gathering quickly now before we launch into, as I said, additional units or modified units.
Yeah. And one more thing, I know that the park has boasted it's the only location to have this service available. And so I know we
Correct?
appreciate that as well. But before you go, Abigail, can you share any numbers so that people can reach out to the Pigeon Point Park in case they're coming down with a relative who may need the wheelchair?
No problem at all. So you can get us at the office at 639-0601. That's for the landline. Or if you want to send an email, you can send an email to contact@pigeonpoint.tt.
And additionally, do you need to reserve in advance, or if you come with your relative, you can just see if it's available and take it out as need be?
No, no. You can come into the office because it's how the rental intervals are. You can come to the office and you can tell us what time works for you and we can schedule it. However, if persons are interested in reserving it, say for an extended period, I would suggest at least giving us a 1-day notice.
Yeah. Abigail, let me thank you so much for joining us this morning. All the best with the wheelchair, and I hope to see many more on the beach soon because I think it's a fantastic opportunity for those with mobility issues to really enjoy not just the water, but the Heritage Park itself. So thanks so much for joining us this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. Have a good day.
You're welcome. And that was Miss Abigail Daniel, the manager of Pigeon Point Heritage Park, just giving us an overview of that new floating beach wheelchair that is now available at Pigeon Point Heritage Park in Tobago. Here on the Now Morning Show, we're going to take a break and be right back. Stay with us.